Hello and welcome back. Today I am going to recap the movie titled Nowhere. Before we dive in, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. The movie starts with explaining that Europe has fallen prey to the evils of totalitarianism. Spain started using the European measure of cutting off its dependent citizens 7 months ago. They have named the plan Not Enough for All. The regime has been particularly targeting the elderly, pregnant women, and kids. The government of Ireland has ruled against this inhumane massacre. Therefore, a married couple, Nico, and pregnant Mia are planning to flee Spain and escape to Ireland. They are hoping to start a new life there with their baby. They pay human traffickers to transport them to a port. They will escape through a ship which will take them to Ireland. We see them struggling to hide from the watchful eyes of the military regime and their dogs. They somehow manage to go in the truck taking them to the shipyard. They discuss what to name their baby. Nico wants to name the baby Noah if the baby is a girl. Mia is a bit skeptical about a baby girl, but she is hopeful. Although they have got on the truck, the worst is not over yet. The traffickers separate Mia and Nico by putting them in different trucks. Nico is in the truck behind Mia. When Mia calls Nico to tell him she can't do this alone, he tells her that there is only one ship going to Ireland this week, and they will go on the same ship. He cautions her to safeguard their little belongings and not trust a single person. As Mia travels alone, we get a glimpse of how dire the situation is in the outside world. People have nothing to eat and drink. The military is murdering people left and right. Women and kids are caged and being beaten to death. Mia's truck is checked by the military. An officer manages to figure out that the truck has refugees in it. He urges them to come out on their own before he must do it by force. A young woman comes when the officer gives an order to shoot at the container. The officer smirks and gives the order to kill everyone. The young woman is shot first. Mia manages to save herself by climbing on a crate. She is the lone survivor in the container, and she leaves a voicemail to Nico warning him to hide as they are killing everyone. Mia's container is finally on the ship taking them to Ireland. Later, Mia calls Nico to check up on him, but the call goes to voicemail, and she leaves him an audio message to inform him that she has survived and is at the port. Later, Mia is wakened by the turbulence of the container. She peeps out of one of the holes left by the military's bullets and sees that she is on a ship stuck in a storm. Mia is injured by the violent shaking of the container, but she calls out for help when she hears voices. Unfortunately, no one helps her. Her container falls into the sea, and she becomes unconscious due to the impact. Later, Mia wakes up surrounded by water and injured. She has a head wound that has stopped bleeding. Mia starts to observe her surroundings in a panic. She looks out of the bullet holes again and sees that she's in the sea in the middle of nowhere. Some of the other containers that fell out of the ship are barely floating up, indicating that if there were people inside, they had probably drowned. Mia searches for her phone in a frenzy just to find out that it has cracked from the impact. She remembers that one of the other refugees had an old phone, so she fishes it out of the bag but can't use it as she does not know the password. Mia tries to find the password until the PIN gets blocked. Then Mia massages the spot on her belly where her baby tends to kick the most. Later, when she hears the sound of water coming from the back of the container, she starts to check the crates inside the container for something that can help her. Mia finds earphones, TV, Tupperware, and alcohol, which are of no use to her. In one crate, she finds hoodies. She removes her wet clothing to wear one from the crate. Mia starts to scavenge the stuff left by the dead refugees and luckily finds a tape that she uses to cover up the bullet holes to stop the seawater from getting inside. Later, Mia finds her diary and starts to look through it when she hears screams. She sees a container just like hers and assumes that Nico is inside it. Mia screams his name and tries to call him by switching out the SIMs in the old phone, but in vain. She helplessly watches the container sink into the sea and tries to call Nico again and again. Mia sits there in pain and despair as she is alone in the middle of the sea with no food or water. It is nighttime now, and Mia is still playing Nico's voicemail again and again just to hear his voice. Later, she's tempted to kill herself with a pocket knife she found earlier. So she puts the sharp blade against her wrist and tries to cut it but drops the knife. Then she strokes her pregnant belly and slowly falls asleep. Mia has a nightmare in which when she wakes up and the water has surrounded her. One of the crates hanging to the ceiling of the container almost fell on her when she was sleeping. She quickly escapes, but the water is seeping in continuously. The container keeps on filling up with water until she finally drowns. Mia is scared when she wakes for real. Mia realizes that she had that nightmare because the seawater was slowly filling the container as the tapes had come off. She tries to call the emergency number, but there is no reception. Then her search for something to stop the water from coming in begins. She uses a crate to cover the part of the container where there are a lot of holes, and she opens up another crate just to find more Tupperware. In a stroke of genius, an idea to cover up the holes using the rubber in the lids of Tupperware strikes her. She removes the rubber from the lids and stuffs it in the bullet holes. Her plan is successful, and then she finds a pipe in the packaging of the TV boxes. Mia uses the Tupperware and the pipe to get rid of most of the water in the container, and with that, her day 2 in the middle of nowhere has been pretty successful. Later, she hangs up the photos of her family in the container. That Mia marks a limit on the crate to indicate that it should be emptied again. Later, When Mia is going through the stuff left by the dead refugees, she finds some food and drinking water. The old phone suddenly rings and Mia is relieved to find that it is Nico's call. He tells her that he never got on the ship because the driver left them near the city limits and he is now trying to get to her. Mia informs him that she is not on the ship but instead drifting in the sea alone. Nico assures her that he will rescue her and she must not lose hope. Then we get to know about Mia's past. The couple had a daughter named Yuma. When the military was killing people left and right, unfortunately, Yuma was one of them. She went out of the house when Mia was distracted and killed by the military. Later in the sea, the waves are becoming more and more forceful. Mia looks out the peephole to see an oncoming storm, and unfortunately, her water breaks. As Mia goes into labor, her phone rings, but it gets lost in the water. Mia gives birth to her baby in the midst of a thunderstorm and knee-deep in water out of sheer determination and her will for the baby to live. Mia is happy to see that the baby is alive and kicking. She then uses the hoodies she found earlier and utilizes them for makeshift diapers and blankets for the baby. Later, Mia gets an idea when she sees the drill left by one of the refugees. She tries to make holes in the ceiling with it, but the baby keeps on screaming. Mia has no choice but to stop and calm the crying baby. When the baby is sleeping, Mia eats the rest of the little food she had been saving. Now there's no food left anymore and there is hardly any water left as well. This causes Mia to start starving and dehydrated. With the baby fed and rested, Mia drills into the ceiling. However, the drill stops working and gives out. Later, the cracked phone comes back to life when Mia switches out the SIMs. However, she cannot call Nico because of the cracked screen, and she can only wait for him to call her. Mia finds the pocket knife again and tries to cut through the metal in between the drilled holes, but the knife breaks before she can get to the last part. Because of low food and water, Mia finds it very difficult to survive with a baby. She could hardly survive on her own in the sea. Out of desperation and starvation, Mia is forced to eat her own umbilical cord. Just then, a whale hits the container. She rushes to protect her baby and screams for the whale to get lost. Surprisingly, the whale goes away. But Mia has worse problems right now as she's out of food and drinking water. In the morning, she has to make do with the rainwater that drips from the drilled holes. With no way out of the container, she just stares at the four walls and thinks about the past. She hallucinates her dead daughter. Yuma is here and is blaming Mia for her death, that it was Mia's fault. Yuma is dead because Mia let them take her away. Mia breaks down, but Nico's words and assurances that Mia is not to blame come back to her. Suddenly, Mia gets the idea to use the straps to open the ceiling. Finally, she can climb up and look at the sky again. Later, Mia tries to fish, but due to the lack of resources, she cannot even get one fish. Soon, the sound of a plane is heard and Mia rushes down quickly to break a piece of a TV screen to send some kind of signal. However, in her rush, she gets cut by the sharp edge of the hatch. Now there is a large bleeding cut on her thigh, so Mia uses the little parts in the TV circuit to make the opening to the wound a little narrow. She uses the alcohol she found earlier to disinfect the wound. As the days goes by, Mia makes a net out of the abundant headphone wires and she uses the net to fish. Then she catches some fish and eats it raw. With a new source of food and water, waves of determination and motivation hit her. Meanwhile, the water level inside the container continues to rise. Although Mia periodically pumps out water, there is not much she can do. Then Mia starts sending out Tupperware filled with messages of help daily. On the 12th day of the journey, Mia is seen talking to the baby about Nico and her life before the scarcity of resources came into play. Nico and Mia own a grocery store that had to be shut down because there was no food to sell anymore. As Mia is telling the baby stories, she remembers that she has not named the baby yet. She names the baby Noah without the alphabet H because it is prettier without it. The newly named Noah listens to her mother talk about Noah's Ark and that the people in the tale survived and got to land. Later, the water inside the container reaches a critical level, so Mia gets herself and Noah on the surface when the phone starts ringing. The call is from Nico, who is on the verge of death. He narrates that he tried to escape but was caught by the cops and shot. He explains that he is losing blood rapidly. With tears in her eyes, Mia tells him about the birth of their dear baby, Noah. Nico is happy but helpless. Both of them say goodbye to each other on last time as the call disconnects and Mia has a breakdown with Noah in her arms. As Mia is staring at the stars in the sky, she is reminded of the chocolate bar the couple saved for celebration. Later, on day 26, the container is filling up with water at a slow but steady pace and Mia is in the process of constructing a makeshift raft. When a seagull lands on the container, she realizes that land is near. Noah is tucked in place on the makeshift raft as Mia collects all their belongings left in the container. The raft carrying Noah gets washed into the sea and Mia's foot gets tangled in the ropes. Somehow, she manages to get herself out of it and swims to the surface. Mia panics when she can't see Noah anywhere, but Noah's cries give her hope and she swims towards the baby. The whales swim beneath them, but they do not do anything. Later, Mia throws away the fish she caught and thanks Noah for saving her life as the baby gave her a reason to fight. The moment she hears the loud squawking of the seagull, she throws the rest of the fish away. Some fishermen see the numerous amounts of seagulls flying over one particular place, and when they got closer to the spot, They find Noah. They are relieved to see that the baby is alive. They also wonder where the family is and find a rope going down into the sea. They pull Mia out of the water and perform CPR on her. After several attempts, Mia coughs out water and starts breathing. She is relieved when Noah is back in her arms again. In the last minutes of the movie, we can see that Mia's fight for survival was not in vain as she made it to land. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more.